Hello, everyone. This is Tiger. Welcome to the second practice session. And well, basically, this session is about linear equations. So I'm just trying to go through the basics of linear equations with you. And hopefully, after this session, you can all master the linear equations because I know not all of you are doing perfectly in these algebra stuff. So I hope that I can help you a little bit in that. All right, so there's only one simple principle of linear equations if there are no powers or no surds in the equation, which is called Groth-Groblet find answer, whatever that means, all right? So Groth, it means get rid of the fractions, all right? Get rid of the fractions. So that's the step one, fractions. And how we can get rid of the fractions in an equation is by multiplying each and every term in that equation by the lowest common multiple of any denominators you can see. All right. So we need to multiply the LCM of denominators. That's how we can get rid of the fractions. Okay. And the second step is GROB, which means get rid of the brackets. And how do we get rid of the brackets? Well, so if you have a little bit of knowledge in the previous lesson, you can see that to get rid of the brackets, we can just make use of the distributive law of multiplication, which means that multiply the constant outside the bracket with each and every term inside the brackets. And most importantly, mind the signs. So for example, if I have something minus 4, say for example, 3 minus 4 times x adding 2 as an expression, how would you expand through the brackets? How would you get rid of these brackets? So you're not just simply multiplying 4 to x and then 4 to plus 2. Otherwise, you get minus 4x adding 8, which is absolutely wrong. All right. You need to take the signs with you, like take the operations with you when you're trying to get rid of the brackets. So you take the whole minus 4, multiply with x, multiply with plus 2. All right. So you need to take considerations of the signs as well. So how we get rid of the brackets is by multiplying the constant with every term in the brackets, all right? Sorry for my poor writing. That looks absolutely terrible, but hopefully you will be able to read it. All right. And step three, let. So that's the let in Groblet. Okay. It means lump everything together. And what it essentially means is that you're just trying to put x terms on one side. Not necessarily x, it can be other unknown terms, like it can be y, it can be z, anything that is happening in this equation. So you put one of the unknowns on one side, or the x terms on one side, and you put the number terms on the other. All right, you put the number terms on the other side. That's what you need to do. And then step 4, factorize if necessary. That's fin. All right, the fin in find, that's the fin. Okay, but currently you don't need to know what is factorization yet. Well, I'm sure you will learn about that later, or you might already have learned about it, but it's not going to happen in this session today. So, well, just try to remember this as well. Factorize if necessary. so that when later you actually encounter some questions which require you to do some factorizations, you will know when to do it, right? And finally, the D in find. So the last letter in find is D, which means divide. And what do we divide it by? Essentially, we are just dividing the x term by its coefficient. For example, if I have 3x equals 9, I'm just dividing the x coefficient, which is 3, right? 3x is 9. So I'm dividing both sides by the coefficient 3, such that I will be able to find x. So we are dividing the x coefficient. All right, I hope that's making sense to you. And I have listed some examples for each of them. So now let's try to move on to some questions. Basically, these questions are all just applying these 5 steps. Grof, grob, let, find, answer. All right. So let's take a look at the first question we have. Does it have any fractions, which is the first step? Apparently not. Does it have any brackets? Brackets neither. So what do we have here? Then we are at step 3, which is lump everything together. Let, right? The let step, which means that I am putting all the x terms on one side and all the number terms on the other. And how can we do that? So essentially, for these kinds of equations, how we maintain the balance on both sides of an equation is by doing the same operations on both sides, right? So the traditional way we're doing is to, for example, add 5x on both sides, such that I can remove the minus 5x on the right-hand side. Yeah. And on the left-hand side, it becomes 7x. Also, since I have put the x term on the left-hand side, I need to put the number term on the right-hand side, right? So I am adding 3 on the left-hand side to cancel out the minus 3, but I'm doing the same operation on the right-hand side, adding 3 to 18, such that I'm getting 21. So now I know 7x is equal to 21. And of course, then there's the factorization, which is not necessary. And finally, division, right? So we are dividing the x coefficient, which is 7, on both sides, such that x would be equal to 3, right? Easy. So that's how we can solve this first question. But then there's simply a quicker way of, like thinking about this process. So you don't need to do the operations on both sides, essentially, if you are, familiar with this enough. If you're just trying to observe the minus 5x and the plus 5x on the left-hand side, the minus 3 on the left-hand side and the plus 3 on the right-hand side, what can you say about them? They actually do have the same value, right? They have the same value. But the only thing that is different is that they have all changed from minus to plus, which means that actually we can think about, like just imagine if we are moving the terms around. If I move the term to the other side, I just need to change the plus into minus and the minus into plus. So 2 steps. First of all, move term to the other side. Second step, change plus to, that's a plus, not a t, all right? Plus to minus, minus to plus. That's it. Okay, 2 steps. So moving it to the other side and you can change plus to minus, minus to plus, such that it will be easier for you to group the terms together, especially when there are more terms than what we have here. For example, if there are 3x terms, 4x terms, of course, you can just try to combine them first, or you can also try to move them before you combine them. Either way, it's all right. It's up to your choice. But I'm just offering you a method that you can, just speed this process up. Basically, it's doing the same thing, but it's just skipping a few steps in there, all right? So that's how you can move the terms around to simplify these equations. Do the let step, lump everything together, yes. Okay. So the next question. For this one, which is the step we are going to do first. Are there any fractions in this question? No. Then the second step is GROB, which means get rid of the brackets. So do we have any brackets in there? Apparently so. So we are just multiplying the coefficient with every term inside the brackets to get rid of the brackets. So you have the 3 in there. I multiply it to 2x, and I multiply it to minus 1. So I have 3 times 2x equals 6x. 3 times minus 1 equals minus 3. All right. And then let me change the color to red. So I'm just going to do the second bracket. All right. So do I multiply 2 to each and every term inside the brackets? Not really, because I'm taking the sign with me. I'm taking the operation with me. So I'm multiplying minus 2 with 1, and I'm multiplying minus 2 with x. No, minus x. All right. So minus 2 times 1 is minus 2. Minus 2 times minus x. Well, if 2 negative signs multiply together, it's going to give you a plus. So I am adding 2x right there. Okay. And it's equal to 0. Of course, nothing has changed on the right-hand side. What about the next step? Lump everything together, right? The let step. That's the third step of this question. So, well, we already have 8x by adding 6x and 2x. Take away 5. By taking away 3 and taking away 2. And that's equal to 0. So we can try to move this minus 5 to the right-hand side. The first step is to move it. And the second step is to change the sign, right? So 8x would be equal to 0 adding 5, which means 8x is 5. In other words, x would be 5/8. All right, does it make sense to you? Okay, so if we are all good about this question, let's move on to the next one. Wow, so this is very much similar, except that there are a few more terms in that. But that's okay, that's completely fine. We don't have any fractions in that, so we don't need to care about the fractions. All we need to do is to get rid of the brackets, right? So we have minus 3 times x and minus 3 times plus 1, which means I'm going to have, well, we just copy the 7 down as well on the left-hand side. Nothing has changed to 7. Minus 3 times x is minus 3x. Minus 3 times plus 1 is minus 3. On the right-hand side, we have 2 times 4 and 2 times x. No, 2 times minus x. Always remember to take the sign with you, right? So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times minus x is minus 2x. All right, easy. So that's what we have. And now the next step is to lump everything together. So as I said, you can choose to you know, you can choose to operate it first whenever you can, or you can choose to move around terms before you can before you do your operation, whichever you like. So conventionally, we are just trying to get a positive value for the coefficient of x. So we're just going to determine which side is larger, you know, such that you can just try to move the terms around. So we have minus 3x on the left-hand side, minus 2x on the right-hand side. Apparently, minus 2x is greater than minus 3x, which means that when you move it to the other side, the minus 3x will become plus 3x, which means that it will become a positive coefficient after taking away the 2x. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you can't sense that very intuitively, just do it any way you like. The coefficient of x, of course, it can be a negative number. It's just a bit easier to make mistakes if you have a negative coefficient of x, because like whenever there's a negative sign, it might involve a sign change, which might lead to your careless mistakes in the exams or in the competition. All right. So that's a little, you know, personal experience stuff to share to you. And of course, do it as you like. So we can just try to move minus 3x to the right-hand side and change the sign from minus to plus. And then we can move the 8 to the left-hand side, changing the sign from plus to minus. Well, some of you might ask me, it's just 8, where's the plus? No one's asking that question. Okay. Basically, yeah, of course, because it's a positive number. So the default operation for it is a plus, isn't it? Okay. So if you're all sure about this, then it becomes pretty easy. We can just try to cross out the 8 on the right-hand side and minus 3x on the left-hand side. So we have 7 take away 3, take away 8, which is 7 take away 11, which is minus 4 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have minus 2x adding 3x. In other words, 3x take away 2x. That is x. So x is equal to minus 4. By convention, we write x on the left-hand side and the number on the right-hand side, because that's a, you know, like a subject stuff. But anyways, x equals minus 4. And that's going to be the answer to this third question. All right. So if we're all good, we can move on to the next one. So we are just trying to solve the equation here with fractions this time. Wow. Now, finally, we have something to do with fractions, which is like the graph step. Like the first step, get rid of the fractions. So first of all, if we want to get rid of the fractions, we need to know the lowest common multiple of the denominators, 3 and 6. And what is that? Can anyone tell me the answer? Yes, that's right. It's going to be 6, right? It's going to be 6. So the answer is 6 for the lowest common multiple of 3 and 6, which means that I just need to multiply the whole equation by 6. And how do I do that? It means that I need to multiply each and every term by 6. All right. So if 2x adding 1 over 3 is multiplied by 6, we have 6 times 2x adding 1 over 3, which the 3 and the 6 can be simplified into 1 and 2. Yeah. And as for, so we keep the minus sign in the middle. As for 5x, take away 1 over 6, multiplying 6, we just have 6 times 5x, take away 1 over 6, which means that these two 6 can be cancelled out. Finally, on the right-hand side, 1 times 6, that's definitely 6. So now the equation becomes 2 times 2x adding 1, subtracting 5x, take away 1, in brackets, equals 6. So what's the second step? Get rid of the brackets. Yes, that's right. That's right. So we have 2 times 2x and 2 times plus 1. And also I have a minus, which should be distributed to 5x and minus 1. The minus is essentially just minus 1, all right? So that is something which a lot of you can easily make a mistake in. Just be careful with that minus, all right? That's a very tricky operation in there without any coefficients. You might just miss it out because of that. So we have 2 times 2x, that is 4x. 2 times 1, that is 2. Minus times 5x, that's minus 5x. Minus times minus 1, that's adding 1, equals 6. So we put everything into their correct positions. So we have 4x and minus 5x on the left-hand side. Well, since 6 is already on the other side, so we are not bothering to move it. 4x subtracting 5x is minus x. So we just need to move the plus 2 and the plus 1 to the right-hand side. So just move both of them there. The plus 2 becomes minus 2. The plus 1 becomes minus 1, right? So now I can cross these two out, which means minus x is equal to 6, take away 2, take away 1, that is equal to 3. So what is x? If minus x is 3, x is going to be minus 3. So that's the answer, okay? That's because x and minus x, 3 and minus 3, these are opposite numbers, all right? So you can just try to, assimilate that. Or, of course, you can try to move x and 3 both to the other side, such that you can see minus x becomes plus x, and 3 becomes minus 3. All right? So that's the drill here. Okay, I think that's going to be the last question for today. So let's try to do this together as well. This time we have some fractions again, apparently. So the first step is graph, get rid of the brackets. What we're doing is to multiply the lowest common multiple of the denominators. So what is the lowest common multiple this time? Of 3 and 2. That's equal to 6 again. So we're multiplying 6 to each and every terms into calculation. Now I'm just going to do the simplification there in the first step, but I need to put some brackets around it because it is multiplying a constant. So it's not just 1 multiplying the 6, it is x minus 1 multiplying the 6, right? Or 2x minus 3 altogether multiplying the 6. So that's the reason why we need to put some brackets around it to protect its integrity, basically. So we can now try to simplify these expressions. Well, 3 is in the denominator and it has a common factor of 3 with 6. Dividing 3, 3 becomes 1, 6 becomes 2. And as for 2 and 6, it goes into 1 and 3. So I can write this equation as 2 times of x take away 1 in brackets equals 3 times of 2x take away 3 in brackets, adding 1 times 6, that is 6. All right. And the second step, Rob, get rid of the brackets. So that's just what we did earlier, multiplying the 2 with the x and with the minus 1. Multiplying the 3 with the 2x and with the minus 3. All right. So let's just move on to 2 times x, that is 2x. That's the calculation bit. Minus 1 times 2, that's minus 2, equals 3 times 2x, that's 6x. 3 times minus 3, that is minus 9. And I'm adding 6 there as well. All right. So what is the next step? Still remember that. Rough, rub, let. So the next step is lump everything together. So now, well, let's try to observe it to see which term should go to the left-hand side and which term should go to the right-hand side. Well, as I said, I want a slightly more positive coefficient. So that's the reason why I'm just trying to move the smaller term to the larger term side, such that 2x becomes minus 2x. Okay. And on the other hand, I'm just definitely going to move the numbers around as well. So I'm moving the minus 9 there, and it becomes plus 9. Moving the plus 6 there, such that it becomes minus 6. All right. So now on the left-hand side, we have plus 6. We have plus 9 minus 6 minus 2. That is equal to 1. On the right-hand side, we have 6x, take away 2x. That is equal to 4x. So we are skipping the fin step, factorize if necessary. Well, it is not necessary here, apparently. So finally, we are going to the divide step. We are dividing the x coefficient, which is 4. So I'm just going to divide it on both sides. I'm just going to divide it on both sides to get x on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, 1/4. So we know x is equal to 1/4. All right, does it make sense to you? Okay, so that's everything for this lesson. Just remember the principle that I have told you earlier. Rough, grublet, find answer. So there are just 5 steps. If you remember them, you will be able to solve any linear equations with one unknowns, of course, with just one unknown. All right, so yeah, basically that's it. And I will see you tomorrow for more of these sessions. And tomorrow we are going to talk about the inequalities, okay? Or inequations. All right. Thank you for coming, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.